Hey everybody, welcome back to the Winner's Circle. I'm Derrick.
And I'm Cody.
And we are here with episode number 12 of Big Brother. Crazy night tonight. Cody, I know we haven't talked about it beforehand. We're going right into it. Without further ado, do we just kind of go over the episode? We save what everyone really came here to hear about.
Let's talk about that at the end. You have to stay here until the end. So we are going to take a little rewind to talk about how the week started out. Because as you guys know, we recap the episode that was on Friday, Wednesday, and then today, the eviction episode. And so I'm going to take you guys back to Friday's episode where they kind of recapped us on what happened during the double eviction last Thursday, where Azah wins the HOH. She nominates Hannah and Xavier. Kyland wins, takes Xavier off. And now we get to hear from Azah, Big D, as to how they felt about everything that unfolded during the double eviction. And obviously, are you surprised, D? Like, Azah was very unhappy. Azah was very unhappy.
She got played. Yep. She got played. I think she said it right out in the DR that, her plan all along was to take out Hannah. Like, she put her up for a reason. That was the plan. However, the taking off of, Xavier was not planned. And she didn't like the fact that in her one HOH, she had to put up her number one ally, even though Derrick was fine with it. And even though she technically didn't nominate him by choice, it just was the last person. She was still pissed about it because it was unnecessary. But Kyland was trying to gain favor with Xavier. And she kind of, I don't know if she saw through that. Azah's a sweet girl, amazing person, not a good Big Brother player.
No,
really.
I
know she won an HOH, but Big Brother's not her game. And for a good reason. She's a great person, right?
Yeah, let's make sure we touch on the good.
Yeah, she's a great person.
Yeah.
She's a great person, and she's got a huge heart. And some people are just not cut out for Big Brother. She is one of them. But you know what, Azah, if you see this is in every way, shape, or form a compliment. Because we all have a little evil in us, some less than others. You clearly don't have a lot of evil in you because you were always pretty straight up with people. I loved watching you play, but as far as strategy's concerned, you haven't really been that in tune with what's going on. And because if you were, you would have put Kyland and Xavier up and you would have made sure that one of them went home. But instead, you ran the risk of your number one ally going home. And thankfully, they had a bigger target in Hannah on the block, or he would have been.
Yeah, I think, no offense to Azah at all. So I just want to say that to start this. But I think the way she ran her HOH week, the fact that she confirmed she was targeting Hannah, just really showed that Azah I don't even know what Azah's, where she even felt her place was in this house. Like, why? I understand, listen, Xavier had a great social game. But at the end of the day, when you're down into the end part of the game, you need to be thinking, who? Obviously, everybody else in there was thinking it, but she was like, who do you have a great opportunity of beating? Do you really feel like you can go to the end and beat Xavier? What were you in there to do? Just play Big Brother or play to win Big Brother? Which, listen, I can check myself. The first go around, the same argument could have been said about me, right? I mean, a lot of people said it when I came out of the house. It didn't really faze me because I was still way more involved in the game than Azah was in this game. But it's just, she made a decision and then she followed it up, and she was more mad about that she had to put Derrick F on the block than the week going exactly how she said she wanted to go. She wanted Hannah out. So I didn't really, feel like Azah in an opportunity where she could have really put a stamp on the game. The game just kind of steamrolled right by her. But hey, we're not going to get too far ahead, but she's in the final three. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, she is. Here's what I'll say. You don't have to be in tune with the game. Let's forget how many days before this HOH, you would like to think that based on situational awareness, she would know out of the four people here, Xavier and Kyland have both played a better game than me. If I have any chance at winning this season, the only way I can win is if Xavier and Kyland are not here. Hannah played a good game, but not a great game. Right. So maybe you can rationalize if you're Azah that I can beat Hannah. If I go on a tear and win a couple HOHs, she's only won one. I've won. Actually, Hannah hasn't even won an HOH,
yeah, she
right?
did. She won the first double eviction.
Okay, so I always forget that one. So she won an HOH. Azah won a double eviction HOH, so they're kind of even there. Depending on jury management, who they like more, Azah, you could win. So if out of the 5 people left, right, or out of the 4 people other than you left, there's 2 that you can't beat, which she should be aware of, just based on competitions, based on what everyone's saying. You should know. Your goal should be to get one of them out, because that's one less person you have to compete against. So forget everything leading up to it. It's down to, the mission of Cookout is over. Now you got to get to the end with people you think you can beat. There's no way she could have thought, I can beat both of them. So for her game, it should have been very obvious that I got to get them 2 out. Yeah. I got to get one of them out right now, and then I'll worry about the next one, because I have a better chance at beating a Hannah or Derrick F in a competition. She didn't, and that's why she's kind of setting herself up for failure. But it was interesting. Nevertheless, I'm glad to see her win an HOH. She was really happy about it, but it was short-lived, the excitement. And then we go, there's a lot of fluff over the last episode, and then even tonight's episode. You have the jury house and all that. I don't know. Are we going to go really deep into all that? It's up to you.
This is what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you right now what happened. It was Xavier won the HOH, which I'm sure a lot of you know. Xavier wins the HOH. Now, the final 4 HOH, Azah can't compete. It's Derrick F, Xavier, and Kyland.
Right.
Kyland loses this HOH. And that's where the kind of
he was not happy.
Steamrolls. He was very unhappy, and he was looking for. This is where I think we do take a dive into what was unfolding for Kyland this week, because he loses the HOH and immediately he starts to snowball into this like turmoil and this negative like aura that I think was just surrounding him, and it had made him have these confrontational conversations with Derrick F, and it made him, kind of looking for something with Xavier, which Xavier was pretty much telling him flat out by not telling him anything. Hey, bud, I'm not really going to be committed to you the same way you were committed to me. And so, he then goes into the veto, and I thought in this competition, I know Kyland had been studying a ton, so I know Kyland knows the days, but he couldn't get a control under, letting everything outside of him, which they said during the veto competition, he was like, I'm hearing the other ones go faster than me, and so I know I need to pick up the pace. That can't be in your head, especially this competition, because you didn't get to play it on our season, on season 16.
I had to watch it twice.
You had to watch it twice. I got to play it twice.
Such a cool game, though.
It's such a cool game, but external factors will ruin you in that game. It did for me the first time I played it. And then the second time, I was like, I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to do me. I'm going to just go slow and smooth as fast, and I'm going to get as many. I'm going to make sure I limit the amount of times balls fall out of the shovel. And Kyland just let everything outside of it.
Did you have that on All-Stars?
We had it on All-Stars, but I didn't compete the same way that you, because I was the outgoing HOH.
Got it.
And I saw again in that situation on All-Stars, Christmas was in the lead by a lot. Let external factors affect her, which was Memphis, and she messed up, and it allowed the door to open for Nicole F.
Yeah, wasn't she like on the last ball?
She was on the last ball.
Dude, I remember that.
Dude, my life just was like, it was like my BB life was slipping through my fingers. I was like, I
remember that. Yeah, and so, that was brutal.
But to the point, it was that she let external factors affect how she was competing in that competition. And so it was exactly what happened to Kyland. And he just let a competition that he could have easily won slip right through his fingers. And now you really see him unraveling. I want to go back to a conversation he had with Big D. And then we saw his exit interview with Julie tonight. When he was having the conversation with Big D, and Big D was pretty much telling him, okay, I'm off the block. Nominations had already happened. Is our final 2 still holding true? Or are you still going to take me to final 2? What did you think about how Kyland handled that entire conversation?
Well, hindsight, not good, right? But I think Derrick was not going to take him either way.
You think?
I don't think Derrick was going to. Okay. I don't think Derrick was going to take him either way. He was never going to cut Azah ever. And I do think there are points in the game. I love Victoria. Victoria's probably not going to see this, but I love Victoria. She was like my sister in the house. But I was carrying Victoria the whole game. And there were points where Victoria would say to me, like, oh, we're doing so good. I'm Batman, you're Robin. Like, I'm going to carry you all the way to the end. Don't you worry. And I'd always be like, oh, that's cute. But I do remember as there were some days where it was just like too much. And I would get like frustrated with her. And even some people on the feeds were like, oh, you're being mean to her, whatever. I do think Kyland was in a boat where he was sitting there in like his Kyland way. He was like, listen, this is ironic because I've had multiple times to prove I wasn't loyal to you, and I've had that opportunity to cut you and I never did. This is the first chance where you've had your opportunity to prove it to me, and you're questioning me, looking for reassurances. Like he didn't say this, but he's kind of like, how dare you?
Well, that's exactly what he was doing. He doesn't have to say it at all. That is something that, we're not going to read into the wrong way. He did say it in his DRs. And so, but I was sitting there, and I guess you really said it. You said that you don't think it would have changed anything, but I almost wish that, you know what? I think he'll probably have less of a regret now, like that it happened in the way that it happened, that he didn't just kind of like try to cave to Derrick F and be like, hey man, like, no, yeah, please keep me safe. Because to your point, I think it was a great analogy. It must have been frustrating because Kyland not only was doing that for Derrick F, he was also doing it for Xavier. And then he didn't get it returned from Xavier when he was like, I literally just pulled you off the block.
Twice. Just 3 times you're saying it.
And so
he saved Xavier a bunch of times from going home.
Yeah. I thought, I wish, I really wanted to see Kyland. Where the whole week went for me is when I saw Kyland just unravel during the competitions, because at that point, then I knew it was really it was going down the drain for him. I was expecting him, to be honest, because I was so high on him in competitions, to at least have won one of these competitions. Because at the end of the day, Xavier was saying this, and not to like kind of knock at all, but Xavier was always like, I was throwing competitions all season, and now I'm going to try to win them. And when he tried to win them, he was losing to Kyland. And Kyland
people
kept
said
him
it on
safe.
social media.
They did. Well, I'm glad people did, because
people were like, listen, when Kyland goes up against Xavier head up, Kyland beats him.
Yeah. Because it just kind of the jury, which we'll get into the jury part of the episode tonight, but it was like Kyland literally was just as good of a player at this game as Xavier. Like, Xavier had a social aspect to his game that I think Kyland didn't, but now seeing what Kyland said to Julie, it was because Kyland just didn't want to bullshit as much.
It's interesting because I'm a huge fan of Xavier, and I think it's now we can start making comparisons to past players, and this is going to come off as so scripted. As I'm thinking it's going to come off as scripted. Xavier's one of the best social players to ever play. He controlled the house from start to finish. I do think Kyland is a better gamer than him, like a better competitor. I think that we have come to a world of Big Brother. I said it with Claire, where it's easy to say afterwards, I threw that competition. I do think he threw a lot. I do. I think he's being honest when he says that, but there were competitions that he just straight out lost. And if I had to play 10 competitions against Kyland and Xavier, I think Kyland wins more of them. Mental, physical. I think he wins 6 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 10.
I agree with you.
But as far as like, I personally, and people are going to murder me for this, I think you are one of the, if not the best competition player in Big Brother history. There's not a competition that you're not good at, that you can't do well, and super biased. So it is what it is. So when I compare like the best competitors to, like, I thought Frank Udy the first time he played, he was like a Cody on also the dude just won everything. Beast, absolute beast. So Xavier's not in that category. Yeah. Kyland is a little closer, dude, I think, to that.
I mean, the argument is 100%. He's in that 3 HOHs, 3 vetoes.
Yeah, he's in that category because he's not just a physical threat. Like, he's built like a house, but he's a very smart guy, and he's won multiple men. And that's what I mean when I talk about you, like Frank. It's like you guys. It doesn't matter what the competition is. If you're focused, you can beat most of the other people most of the time. So that's a dangerous player. So if we're really breaking down attributes, Xavier's claim to fame this season will be his ability to control people, manipulate people, socialize, keep people in check. I don't think anyone's ever going to say Xavier's a comp beast.
Here's where I think Xavier is going to get his knock this season. And we picked him from the beginning because we felt he had all
Xavier. We look like studs. Attributes. Picked him week 1.
Right. If he wins. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. If he wins.
He's got this. I'll say it. I'll eat it if he doesn't. Okay. The season's over, folks.
Okay. So the thing where Xavier is going to get the knock is being in the house with a player like Tiffany. Where
Tiffany's a beast.
Where
Tiffany's
she was was doing well in comps. But strategy-wise, Xavier wasn't the guy that was like strategically breaking everything down. Like that plan of linking up with somebody outside of the cookout and being that, like, that person is who you're going to fall on the sword for, and really like selling it so hard that nobody at all came close to being like, cookout is working together, was all Tiffany. And now the jury knows it. And so Xavier's going to have to come, well, not anymore, because now no matter who he sits next to, if he's in the final two chairs, neither of them have that.
And he doesn't seem like the type of guy, I will say this, if he ends up seeing this, he's the type of guy that doesn't give a crap about Big Brother. So even if he's considered, he's not going to be, but even if he's considered like one of the lower tier winners in past seasons, which he's not.
Yeah, he's going to be.
He's not going to care because he's like, I got 750. I don't care. Tiffany was better than me. That's fine. I'm going back to being a lawyer.
with what, you know, after taxes, it ends up being like probably closest to actually to 500K.
This is a business transaction for him.
So I agree with you.
I think you're right. With your season, All Stars, my opinion, the best player won. I think even people who were rooting against you were like, he killed him. He killed him. He won all the comps. He did all the thing. My season, sorry, I know you're on there with me. They were like the best. They were like the best player won.
You don't. You shouldn't have had to say sorry for that.
So, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, it makes a season that much more enjoyable. And I think a lot of people, especially if you go to social media, they think Tiffany was the overall better player. So it does take a little bit away from him. But I will tell you, when you win, it really doesn't matter. There's people. Josh Martinez is a great example. People always say he's undeserving. He does not care that he won the money. He don't care,
right? Why would you?
You don't.
And
you
the
don't
thing
care.
is, Xavier was a really good player, because, you know,
great player,
social,
good player.
And the way he was able to talk to people is why his social game was what it was. Now, do you have anything else to say on that?
No, and we're kind of skipping around because I'll just say it because I'll forget it if I don't. I really hope, as Xavier goes forward, if this works out the way I think it's going to work out, I really hope he owns the fact, because I think it'll give more credence to it, where he was like, I saw how good of a player Kyland was. I didn't want to sit next to him because there was a chance he could lose. And even Derrick X,
I love that Derrick X said that.
Said, you know, I don't know who I'm voting for. And we've been kind of starting to say it too, where it's not a guarantee if he goes against him. I really hope, and he's going to do this, he's already starting to do it, but I hope when the season's over, he owns the fact that, like, he wasn't being the honorable person by taking Derrick F. He took Derrick F because he knew it was a guaranteed win.
He's not going to own that.
And, you know, that final two, he made final twos with a lot of people. Don't tell me that because you made the first one with him, that was what you truly were going to hold onto the whole season because you're just such a loyal person, when you've been cutting throats left and right. You just cut a guy who is a major reason why you're still in the game. You know, Derrick F has never done anything that has kept you in the game, has saved your life. You did what's best for your game, which I respect. Good move. It was great television, but don't piss on me and tell me it's rain. You're keeping Derrick F because Derrick F is a layup. Right. Sorry, Derrick F, but that's what he's looking at it. But I know we're getting off the beaten path. This is a crazy episode. I can't keep it in.
So now we hit the stuff about really in the Wednesday episode, because at the end of the day, when they're in the final four episode,
sniffing tortillas, you didn't hit that.
Well, we're gonna get to that towards the end because that was bizarre. There was one thing in there that I was like, ugh.
They did him dirty though, because he wasn't making no sniffing noises. That was sound
you could
effects,
tell, bro. And to everybody out there, like, that isn't really noticing this stuff, like, that's added in audio. You see the CGI. It happens. It's like 80. It's like what is it? 80 ADR. Okay. That stuff was added. Kyland wasn't, like, those sniffs were deep, and his mic is down here, so like it was like the microphone was right here.
Dude, they did him dirty.
Really dirty. But I'll tell you what.
But it was weird.
The floss and and I was like,
yo, dude. Yes, that was bad.
Dude,
that was bad.
Cow.
I mean, we've all been on you and I have both been on the feeds. There's been some things, but I don't know about that. That was a rough one. That's a rough one.
Me of something. Sure. And like, I hate to do him like this, but it's so funny. Enzo, I was in tears when he was talking about this. It's on the feeds. He was like, "Yeah, man, I've been sniffing everything. Like, I definitely got caught like scratching my ass and smelling my hands." Like, can you hear Enzo saying that?
Dude, he was so good on your season, bro. He's such good TV.
He is arguably, in my opinion, I thought he was just as good, or like maybe not just as good, but like right there with Zach. Like, he is great TV.
Bro, he's great TV. His DRs are phenomenal.
And so
phenomenal. No, he's
that's
great
the
TV.
First thing I thought of when I saw Kyland do the floss and then smell it. I was like, oh, dude,
that's a bad one
right there.
we've all smelt our shoes and things like that. Like, it's like, hey, do I got to throw some baking powder in there or something? But the floss.
The thing is, right, like you smell your shoe, like, right, I got my sandal on. If I'm going to smell my shoe, it's like whoa, that needs something. Kyland was like,
he was eating it.
Wait, he was. Wait,
he was like, and people on audio,
bro.
People on the audio right now are like, what are they doing? Because they can't see. But if you're on YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, you're missing it right now.
So they had that little segment, which was fun. Now it brings us to Thursday's episode. And I want to get into the jury segment. I want to get into the jury segment first. The jury segment kind of was bothering me until Derrick X kind of stood up for Kyland. And I don't know if I really, really like Kyland. So I don't know if I'm being this way because of how like I genuinely like him. But it was bothering me how like Claire was kind of just like, I don't know why that's a good move for Kyland. Like, it's like, do you realize that multiple people in the cookout said Kyland's the first one to go? You're not privy to this information. Yeah. You have no idea what the cookout has talked about. So to be like, what you don't know, and you're talking about it like it was like a certain thing. I was like, Claire, just like kind of just like get the information first. Like you're in the jury, just get the information. And Kyland was literally being talked about as the first one to go. When we interviewed his friends were like, I don't know, we don't know. It could be bad for Kyland. And we said to them, yeah, he might have to win out because he was being viewed as the first person to go.
Well, you see the irony in all of it, right? Because I saw the jury segment and Claire was basically saying to us, I don't know if I'm going to vote personally or I'm going to vote based on games. So translation, I don't know if I'm going to be a bitter jury member or I'm going to vote the way I probably have said online multiple times that I would do, how I would vote if I were ever to play Big Brother. And it's ironic because a lot of people do that. But when you get in there and you're the one that's personally affected by it, it is tough not to vote bitterly.
Totally.
And so Claire, I don't think she even read between the, saw her outer body experience where like how she was sounding, but it was like, I don't know if I'm going to be a bitter jury member and just vote for against them because of how I personally feel or if I'm going to vote based on game. Yeah. And it's like, that's what you're supposed to do though. Yes. You're supposed to vote based on game. And but jury management, man, jury management.
Here's the other thing I want to say is I think the personal part is coming from stuff that we don't know about yet. We haven't had this information. I don't know what this hang up is with Sarah Beth. I really want to know.
I'm telling you,
I think
it was a lot of personal conversations about her dad, and there were some other things that were going on where I don't know. It's probably some embellishment too, but I'm sure in the comments, if you guys know, we're not privy to it. Way down in the comments below, if there were things that you think that Sarah Beth is specifically talking about, but other than the dad. I know there was a thing that made the show between her and her dad about her dad when they were like cuddling, and he was like, "Tell me about your father," and because I think she just lost him. She just lost her dad?
So I remember that.
Yeah, but if I'm wrong, I'm sure you guys who watch the feeds are going to fill us in.
But she said something about unnecessary lies. And so I really, really want to know if you guys can help us out. That would be great because it almost seems like Sarah Beth like loathes Kyland. Like there is not a chance.
Not a fan.
Like you were 100% correct. I was definitely wrong. She was never going to vote for Kyland if he's in the final two.
Nope.
So
most of them aren't going to be honest with you. If they were there, if he was there, I thought it was going to be closer. You might have a Derrick X vote or something like that, but I think most people were going to vote for Xavier either way. Mm-hmm. I think that they just genuinely are not a fan of Kyland, his approach. I think sometimes Kyland, listen, we like Kyland, we like Tara, we like John. You look at his old Twitter comments and stuff, his situation, his self-awareness is lacking slightly. He doesn't see how he's presenting himself sometimes. And I think that's something that happens with growth as a human, and he may change over the years. But I think when he's talked to certain people, he came off probably very condescending, passive, and he might have good intentions, but that's the way it was coming off to others. And I think genuinely, although he wasn't a bad person, a lot of people just didn't like his approach to communication. And I think they just got a bad taste in mouth. Where on the other hand, Xavier was like the mediator for everything. So I just think that it's not something, I don't know if it's anything specific that he did. I think it's just a way he kind of talked to people. Kind of sometimes sound like he was talking down to them, talking around them. People don't like when you talk to them like they're stupid.
Yes. I agree. And I think,
And these are all smart people.
Yeah, very intelligent people in the house. And so I you know what? I definitely can understand that with everybody else, but I really would
sound
love
off
to
in the
know.
comments though. Maybe I'm way off. But it sounds like these people are like, hey, we're not morons.
Yeah.
Stop talking to us like we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to hear what the people in the comments say, because maybe it's something specific where I'm gonna go, oh, okay, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
But jury was not favorable for Kyland.
No,
so it's
really
interesting
bad.
to see that we're not losing out on like a really fascinating finale night between those two, because I think it would have been 8-1, 7-2, maybe X against Kyland. It wouldn't have been close.
Yeah. Which, you know what? It is what it is. When you go into this game, people need to understand there's a lot of factors that go into like how you need to talk to people, how you need to handle situations, how you need to handle HOH wins. And so let that be a lesson to anybody that may possibly be a future house guest that is listening to this podcast. You could take someone like Kyland, who from the outside, when you're only watching the live show, you're seeing, we could see it in the live show when Kyland was doing his nominations, different conversations that he was having. You were like, all right, he's not doing a great job with this. And so if you're watching that, you can take in something, digest it, and bring it with you if you're going on the show in the future. And just, there's a way to have a straight up conversation with somebody without making them feel like you're talking to them like they're a dummy. And that's so huge. True. It's huge. That's an important aspect of the game. You know what I mean?
Communication is everything. The ability to read and interpret people and communicate with them in a way that they're receptive to it. It's huge. So the jury segment was cool though. I love the jury segments.
Dude, the Tiffany thing was like, her being the first one in was like pretty intense.
I like what Derrick X said as far as like, she had her speech planned for final two.
Yeah.
And if I'll tell you what, man, I was saying that Xavier versus Kyland was the final two to see. I was wrong. The final two to see was Tiffany versus Xavier. And I'll say it right now. Based on the jury, based on the people and how excited they were to see her, I don't know what you feel, but Tiffany might have beat Xavier.
Tiffany would have, I think it would have been in a similar manner that you just stated about Xavier beating Kyland, because I think
really, maybe
Tiffany would have came up there and did, what do they call it? The master plan?
The master plan, dude. Yeah.
Tiffany would have said the master plan and they would have all been like, wait.
Yep.
And she would have been like, I was supposed to be with Claire. Xavier was supposed to be with Alyssa.
And Derrick, the cookout members would have been in jury to confirm it.
They would have been like, she's right. Yeah. And they would have all been looking around, and she would have literally sealed the deal on anybody that might have been on the fence. And she would have already had, I think she would have already had Hannah, Brittany, Claire. And I do think she would have had Derrick X right off the rip. That's 4.
Yep.
You needed one more.
Yep. And depending on if it's Xavier, maybe Sarah Beth goes for Xavier. But do you think you said Hannah and
Derrick
Claire
F
both,
wouldn't
right?
have voted because he had a bad taste in his mouth about Tiffany. So Derrick F would have voted, been like, I don't really like her, whatever.
Did you say Brittany?
I said Brittany would have voted for Tiffany.
So Brittany, she would have Brittany, Claire, Hannah,
and Derrick
X.
Those are the ones that I like almost.
So it would have been close, because then Alyssa, Derrick F, Azah, it would have came down to Kyland. Kyland and who else?
Sarah Beth.
Who am I missing? Sarah Beth. Sarah Beth, I don't know. She's the wild card. But Kyland probably would have voted for Xavier if he didn't burn him.
Yeah.
And so it would have been 4-4, and it would have came down to friggin'.
Yeah. Okay, maybe it would have been close. Maybe it would have been close.
Dude, it would have been close.
But what I'm saying is, I think that when she does that, like, what's Xavier's counter to the master plan?
He played a very subtle game. He played a very under the radar game. He was like controlling, but like only when he had to.
Right.
Kind of like my game. My game was hard to explain. That's why I kept harping on never been nominated, because I was like, that's the only thing that I can quantify.
Yeah. But your jury management made everybody feel.
People liked
like they felt like you were doing a lot of things. And then when it was everybody was coming back and it was seeing who was in there, that part of your game, which is something you can't really explain when you're standing there.
They got to know it or they don't.
And they knew it going in there. So to your credit, your jury management was just like second to none. It was so incredible.
I just can't wait until Derrick F tells him how he played all of them.
So that's also another thing. So then we had another segment tonight about Derrick F and Azah kind of going back and forth.
Yes.
Pretty much Derrick F telling Azah, like, I carried you all the way.
I was dying. I was dying during that segment, bro.
Come on. Derrick F, I want to play video games with you. I know you said you're a video game person. If you say no, then whatever, it is what it is. You carried no one. You did what he did do, which I will give him credit to, was he heard when Azah's name got mentioned going up, he did nominate himself. He was like, I don't want that to happen to my girls. I don't want Brittany and Azah to go up. Put me up. I'll take the fall. He did that. Now, did that save Azah's game? No. That did not save her game in the slightest bit, because at that point, the cookout had the numbers to save whoever they wanted, and the cookout member was in the HOH.
That's right.
So my favorite was this. I mean, she's been laying in the back and sleeping the whole time. We had a segment on you sleeping the whole time. You were sleeping the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, she's got more competition wins than him.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, it was funny. And Big Brother played him because they know that that's not true, and that's why they threw it in there, because it's so oblivious. I think he's a good person, but they're so oblivious. He's so oblivious to the game. He's really. I think he ends up in the final two. And I think there's, not to get too far ahead, but Xavier, statistically speaking, is going to win the first part because it's going to be physical. Mm-hmm. I would say Azah will probably win the second part. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to go to the final part, which is going to be based on knowledge. Now, that's a good thing, but Azah has never come close, from what I remember, to winning a mental competition against anyone. I don't think she's ever been in like the top two.
She was doing pretty good. She's always like one of the first people out. But the thing, what you got to remember is, if she knows the game, she knows what this final HOH competition is, and it's like a culmination. I don't think she does.
I don't think she does. So I think Xavier smokes her in the final. If it's a competition like it was on 22, I think he's going to beat her handily, and then he's going to take Derrick F. But I hope there's some suspense. Obviously, I want to see Xavier win, because I don't want to see.
I know what there is a lot of people on the outside saying. I sure hope Azah wins and takes Derrick F, because there's a lot of people that don't want to see Xavier.
I mean, people wanted that to happen with Victoria too, right? They want to see her win and take money from one of us. So it's easy to root for the underdogs. It's more than likely not going to happen, and we'll see. But yeah, that was an interesting segment. I'm glad they threw it in there. But that's what I'm talking about with the fluff. It's like, you would get the show done at this point in 20 minutes.
Yeah. So, yeah, but they have to add all that stuff in. They added another segment about Kyland with Derrick F, which, Julie asked him straight out. We talked about that. Julie asked him straight out when he walked out the door. But, now let's get to right before he walked out the door.
Right. And don't forget that segment with him and Xavier, right? Like, that was huge, where he had to know something was up, because Xavier, he was in there. He's like, I'd like some reassurance, it'd be great. And Xavier's like, just relax.
You'll find out.
Just relax.
You'll find out. Actions speak louder than words.
Guys, for all of you watching who are on the show, when a guy has been reassuring you all season, but then when it really counts, doesn't want it to, just tells you to relax and you'll find out tomorrow, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's the whole thing of like, when I go and talk to the HOH, if they tell me like, I don't know, I'm still trying to weigh my options, I don't really know who I'm going to nominate. You're probably one of the people they're going to nominate. Because
they've already told everyone.
I got to go talk to the HOH about using the veto, not getting used on you. Just giving you guys some cues if you're going to be going in the house. These are some of the things that if you hear, just let some flags go off, or like some light bulbs go off.
Start causing problems, because you're going to start running into walls.
Start causing problems. Just start breaking shit.
Throw pillows, cut up shirts. Do what you got to do, man.
Pots and pans.
Try to get someone to punch you, because that's the only chance you got at staying at that point. But yes, I've been foaming. I've been yelling all night tonight, talking even in this mic. I can see my levels spiking.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this blindside, because instantly history making as far as one of the most tense blindsides, live evictions in Big Brother history.
Oh my God, for sure.
Hands down. Maybe the
100%. Probably the.
I haven't seen every one, but this one was from the ones that I've seen.
Yeah. Some of the past seasons were ruthless, so maybe not, but.
I wonder if on live evictions there's been like fights with Russell and Jeff.
So I remember one.
Live eviction?
I remember one. It was when Howie got evicted and he grabbed Boogie's hat and threw it off of him. And Boogie's like, real classy. He goes, what are you going to do about it? And turned around. And then all of a sudden it was like, but they were letting it ride. Like, I was like, uh-oh, something could happen here. In the All-Star 1. And so that was the only one that was close as close to this, but this seemed a little more. The Howie Boogie thing almost seemed like, we've seen Boogie all season. We know Howie. I don't really think
that was more
going to happen.
This was a personal.
This was personal. Very personal.
Run us through it, though.
Okay.
We're getting right. We're
right.
gonna.
So Kyland's sitting there. Xavier stands up. He decides to not use the power of veto. Kyland starts to obviously see, okay, something's wrong here.
Right.
Big D goes, I am loyal to nobody. Once he said that, it should have been like, okay, I'm done. All right, I am in trouble.
Yep.
He goes, Kyland, I have evicted you. And Kyland gives a face and was like, huh.
Shocked.
Done.
Guys, this is why so many feeds people and like the social media are like, we want blindsides, because this was a genuine no heads up. He really thought he was staying.
Yep.
But continue. Yeah, keep going with it.
He gets blindsided and he has his drink in his hand. Excuse me. And he turns to Xavier and goes, really? No heads up? No heads up.
He's getting more mad as he's thinking about it.
As it's happening, he goes, no heads up. Then Big D crosses with him. His focus is on Xavier because he knows this wasn't Big D.
100%.
This wasn't Big D.
Well, Xavier could have saved him too,
right.
and avoided it. If he really wanted him to stay, he could have kept him.
Right. No heads up. He looks at Xavier. He looks over at Big D and almost can't be bothered. Looks back at Xavier.
Yeah, D started to talk about, oh, this is a game. I don't think I can beat you.
He's
like, oh, that's fine.
He couldn't be bothered.
He's like, that's fine. I'm keeping my attention on you, Xavier, because he knew this was a chess move by you.
Yeah, yeah. And so when he brought up, he goes, something about, I thought you wanted like Jordan. Is that?
No. So what I heard, and I haven't been watching the feeds, come for me if you want, is Xavier has a nephew.
Okay.
And they named him Kobe.
Kobe. Why did I say Jordan? I was thinking, yeah.
Kobe. They named him Kobe. Probably his nephew. All speculation here was maybe after Kobe passed away, and out of honor for him, they named his nephew is named Kobe, and he probably told him because Kobe is such an inspiration to a lot of people. His inspiration to me. I just made a gun build and named it the Black Mamba after Cody. Kobe. I'm a huge fan of Kobe, and so they probably had some personal conversations about the naming of Kobe, naming his nephew Kobe and the significance of it at some point. Yeah. And so you heard what he said. He goes, Kyland was really pissed off. Yeah. He was really hurt. And in his passive way of throwing a dig, he was looking for something to say that was going to cut through. And he drops the, in the whole Kobe thing. And you could see Xavier's demeanor immediately changed, because he said to him, and I give Xavier a lot of credit because he knows he probably is losing a vote. Yeah. He looks at him and goes, I didn't want to give you a heads up because I felt like you could change Derrick F's opinion. Yeah. Basically insulted Derrick F right in front of him, by the way. But he's like, I didn't want to give you a heads up because I thought you were going to change his opinion. He owned it. Like, I'm the reason you're going home. He didn't try to be like, oh, I can't believe it. Derrick F's the one that sent you home. He knew where it was going to be, so I respected the hell out of that. And Kyland was looking for something to be a personal jab, for sure. I mean, was that your take on it? That wasn't game related.
No, I think he was going the whole coward route. And he wanted that, like, I don't respect you, like, as a man. I don't respect you. Because he said something along the lines, it's like, as a man, like, he said something like that, right? Or something, he was like, to that effect.
Well, you want him to look up to Kobe. Kobe would never back away from a challenge. That's exactly what he said.
And so, but once Xavier heard nephew, Xavier heard nothing else.
Game was over. I honestly think he forgot he was in the Big Brother house.
Yeah, game was over. And Kyland, the game was over too. They both were like,
neither one were backing down.
Neither one of them were backing down. It was literally two alphas with their chests pumped out saying, like, Kyland was like, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to break eye contact with you. And Xavier was like, I'm not breaking eye contact with you either. And you, like, I know, like, for me, I'm like, don't look away from me, because if I'm staring at you and you look away from me, I know you're a coward and I know you're a weasel. And neither of them did. Like, that's how
they were locking eyes.
And so for me,
no, not you.
If somebody was staring me in the face, I'd be like this. You think I'm breaking my flag? You will look away before I do, or else something might end up happening. And it was so intense. I literally felt like I was sitting there, like, kind of like holding my breath. I was like,
I felt like I was in a bar or something with one of my buddies, because we've both been in that situation before, where it's like, in about 10 seconds someone's getting hit. Yeah. Now, again, I don't know these guys personally, but I don't think Kyland's a fighter. I don't think he was ever going to throw a punch. No. And I think Xavier is too smart. Yeah. Like, Xavier was stepping to him because he has a responsibility to once you start putting his nephew out there on national TV. But I don't think there was even a thought of like pushing him or throwing a punch because he
Why
knows.
do you think Xavier kept his hands behind his back?
Yeah,
he didn't want under any circumstances for them to think I am not about to be at this point and lose this money. So Xavier, he knows. He put his hands behind his back and he stepped up. And then Xavier, he stepped again.
Kyland probably wanted him to punch him. He was like, hey, take a swing at me now. I'm not getting anything anyways. I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was ever going to get physical. But but you could tell, I was like, how long are they going to let this go?
Dude, obviously. And then Julie was like, all right, come on, Kyland. And Kyland was not leaving the house.
Yeah, he stepped back in to get a water too, and she
lost it because she was like, "What's happening?" The producer in here were like, "Julie, get in there, get in there."
Imagine if Julie walked through the door and was like,
"Get out of here, Kyland, right now!"
Like, imagine that would have been that would have been so awesome if she like walked in the door and was like, "You now."
And Kyland was like, "I don't even know if this is my water. Is this my water? Is this? I don't."
Well, the other thing is, it's like. You got Derrick F and Azah in there. They're not breaking that up. That's two monsters about to go at it.
Derrick F is not a small person and is a very powerful person. Derrick F could have ripped one of them off. I wholeheartedly believe that.
I mean, he is Joe Frazier's son.
I mean, he also did in his Us Weekly, in the cast put out thing, he's put in there fun facts about himself. He like benches 515. Like
Derrick F.
So Derrick F would have been like this, and toss somebody. And so I will say that, like, if something did happen, Derrick F was 1 billion% capable because one, Derrick F isn't short. Derrick F is just as tall as them.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He's big and also like puts around weight. So their weight, like they don't seem like they're like, 250.
Xavier's a small guy.
Derrick F would have literally pried the both of them right off of each other. So, maybe Derrick F, not the greatest Big Brother player, but I sure, if Derrick F is charging me, I'm going to be like this. Give him like the head bob.
Listen, it was a great moment. I know
it was intense.
I know people are going to be like, oh, you don't want to see it like that. You don't want to see. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Because that's Big Brother. Like, at the end of the day, we want to have things happen that don't happen. That's why people love Bachelor in Paradise, because that's not normal, right? Like, we don't want to see just, hey, good game, shake your hands. We're not watching a golf tournament.
Yeah.
This is Big Brother. We want to see it get dirty. We want to see some things thrown back. And when it's live like that, there's no editing. It was a great moment.
That's why.
I'm glad nobody got hurt. I'm glad it was all verbal.
Right.
I'm not going to shake your hand right now. You just ended my game chance at 750 after I saved you. Mm-hmm. I'm calling you out right here on national TV. And it was great because Xavier couldn't get him out the door fast enough. Mm-hmm. All right, man, Kai, we'll talk out. He was like, oh, he's talking to him. He's like, hey, what about it? And he's like, we'll talk. After the show, you'll know. He didn't want to do it. And Kai's like, no.
We're talking right now.
We're doing it.
I'm not walking out those doors until you talk to me.
It was a great.
Yeah.
Great moment.
Yeah.
It was a absolute great moment. Mm-hmm. It was one of the few moments, if not the only moment this season where I was like, my Tenley watches the show with me. I'm like, Tenley, no, be quiet. I'm like, what's gonna happen? I was like, this could get really bad.
Daddy, what is he doing? What are they doing?
What would they have done? I really wonder. I mean, we know kind of the behind the scenes, like there's security people on the property, but there's not like bodyguards waiting behind the door, I don't think.
No. But what I do know is that we are 1,000,000% in a day and age where there is not a chance in hell that anything further than what it got to, that was the highest level
it's going to get to.
That it's ever going to get. You are not going to say, what if happened? But
what if they start?
So
what
think
if they
about
start
this,
throwing blows?
Because the only other time we've seen maybe something where the confrontation happened was Big Brother 14 with Joe and the guy that's his brother's
brother there.
Yeah. And they actually got into it, got in each other's faces.
Headbutted him or something.
He pushed his head into him, and then Joe flopped backwards like he got hit with a baseball bat. I was like, what the hell was that? But anyway, that was the closest. Yeah, it was like WWE. I was like, what is happening here? Anyway, but that was the closest we had ever gotten to it. And that was a little bit further up, but I'm talking about that was, years ago. I don't know that anything ever boils even to that. And so this was the closest I think we're ever going to get to something like that. But if an altercation does break out, you better hope that there's people in there that can break it up, because producers will not be in there quick enough. People to stop PAs will not be in there quick enough. And quite frankly, they don't have bouncers working in the off stage, and so it's a bunch of PAs who have never really. Maybe there might be one there that's like dealt with a situation like that.
Now they'll have one. Now they're gonna have one.
And so I gotta say, it was intense, and it was so raw that it was like that's the kind of stuff that makes you feel like you could tell how betrayed and how hurt Kyland felt from how that erupted and what happened.
In comparisons, we're not at the end yet, but we're getting close. In comparisons to like previous seasons when people rank them, does a moment like that move the season up a spot? Can it? I mean, I think a moment like that, we're not going to ever forget that moment.
I mean, here's the thing: is that like YouTube videos where it's like Big Brother fights have to now be changed. There now has to be
that could be number one.
There now has to be the blow up of like them literally standing there like face to face, like not breaking, like not just Kyland. Every time Xavier would say, you should really stop talking about my nephew, he was like, no, I'm going to talk more about it. I'm going to twist a little bit more. No, I didn't like that. You should really, and Xavier, you should really stop talking about my nephew. Step forward. Kyland goes, no, you're a coward. Like that, you're a weasel. Like there's nothing, everything you said was
no back down.
Neither of them were backing down until I think Julie's voice, finally cut through to Kyland to be like, this isn't what I want to be doing. I should get out of here.
Not on national TV.
I should get out of here.
Not on national TV. It's still, as I sit here and think about it, because I'm definitely caught in the moment, it's definitely not number one for me. I still got to have Jeff and Russell's fight at number one for me when he's like, go in your dojo, you dork. Like that to me was, have you ever seen that fight?
Yeah, I looked it up.
Bro, that fight is amazing.
Yeah.
That fight, he's like, we
Jeff's
went in this house.
Jeff's on the elliptical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he's on the elliptical, but he's like, dude, if we were outside this house, I would take you to an alley and beat you senseless. Like, he said something along those lines where he was like,
it was awesome.
We would go in an alleyway and you would not come back out. And it was great. Yeah. But enough about that. We got all fired up. That was a great moment. Yeah. I'm glad nobody got hurt. I'm glad nothing was said that. I think Kyland will have regrets because he's the type of person he is where, maybe not. It's funny, as we're sitting here talking, Cody and I had submitted our questions for Kyland before that happened. We resubmitted our questions with a question in there about the fight. Mm-hmm. And I just seen a notification on my screen pop up from Big Brother, the person we speak to at Big Brother. Shout out Abby. I'm giving her a shout out. Shout out Abby.
She's been so incredible. She's been so incredible.
She's been amazing. She was like, I just saw like the preview of what she said. She said, no problem, noted. Someone else is handling the interviews, but I'm going to pass it along to him. So I'm like, yes, that's great.
Boom.
So we might get that in there.
Boom.
Anything else you got? I mean, crazy episode. He gets evicted. Yep. It's Azah, Derrick F, Xavier, final three. And, by the way, I do have one more question for you. New information, just to add some insult to injury for you, just throwing away money like crazy. America's favorite player, now $50,000.
Yeah, so I'm eager to. So the first thought I had about that is, first of all, why insult to me? I don't even think I was ever close to America's favorite.
No, but the fact that like literally you just won All-Stars.
Yeah, I'm eager to see. So now I'm eager to see what happens next season. Are they going to drop the money back down?
Nope.
Are they going to keep it where it's at? Because in my opinion, you can't go back now.
Nope.
If they go back, I'd be like, something's up. Like that's weird.
That's
like,
the new
standard.
Know what
I mean? They have to keep it there. America's favorite has to be 50 and winner has to be 750.
Absolutely.
Yep. I am eager to see if they're going to make America's favorite 50. Second place, they have not mentioned all year, unless I'm mistaken. What is the second place prize money? Is it 50? Still?
That's a great
with America's favorite being 50? No way, right? No way.
Maybe second place is going to be 75 now. Because that's the difference it was $25,000 difference.
Yep. Yeah.
That would make sense. 750,000 and 75,000.
Yeah, which then, with the stipends and everything, second place is walking away with even better money.
But did you get your stipend even though you won second place on our season?
You don't. That's why Donnie got more money than me.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, big brother. But, thankfully, I made out okay.
I got to ask you. I got to put you on the spot, and then I'll give mine.
Give it to me.
Who, by the way, Big Brother, the person who is handling it, she's going to go with the second set of questions. She just said, so guys,
let's go.
We will be getting our question in there about Kyland and his, I think it was something along the lines of, what do you think about the altercation, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
do you regret the altercation that had with Xavier
Let's see what he has to say.
I'm very excited to hear what he has
He's going to answer tonight, so he's probably still going to be hot. But my final question before we wrap this up is, who are you endorsing for America's favorite player this year. There's a lot of voting going on. Everyone's endorsing people.
Mm-hmm.
Who does Cody Calafiore think should win America's favorite player this year?
Who do I think should win it, or who do I think is going to win it?
Who do you think should win it? Because people can vote now.
Yeah.
So someone listening to this might go based on your rationale behind who you say.
So my thing is, the person that I'm behind the most for America's favorite is Tiffany. And the reason why I'm behind Tiffany is because she's just so, like, not even the line of like so deserving of just extra money. She was somebody that just like had a ton of FaceTime, was great in the DRs, was a great storyteller, was an incredible strategic player, was a great she is easily one of the best Big Brother players. And she fell short, and I think she fell short. My genuine opinion is the cookout. I knew it was going to affect somebody in there, and somebody within the cookout that probably could have done better without the cookout was Tiffany. I think Tiffany would have went further and to the end if the cookout wasn't at the forefront of what she was trying to do. And so her game was essentially ruined because of her loyalty to the cookout and this bigger cause. And so she's deserving of it. She was great TV. She's liked by, I think, everybody inside of the house. I don't know anybody outside of the house that really dislikes her. And so I'm going to say Tiffany. I definitely would love to see her win America's favorite.
I agree completely. She's arguably the best player of the season. I mean, she's not going to win, probably going to be Xavier, but I think as we said earlier, you can make a very legitimate argument that still, even though she didn't get the best player doesn't always win. And so it's very easy to say that although Xavier is going to be crowned the winner most likely this year, Tiffany is an overall better player. And I do think she carried the season as far as the DRs, like you said. And I do agree with what you said as far as when she was planning out her strategy, it was always about how do I get this group of individuals to the end, not necessarily about how I get myself there. How do I get myself to final two? Which if she wasn't going after this bigger mission, who knows if Xavier even makes jury? She might have went after him right away. You don't know. There's a lot of what ifs. So we can't do anything about that. The season played out the way it played out. I think she'd do a lot of great things with the money. She has a little boy at home. So I would love to see her win. I hope that social media, the feedsters are a very small portion of the voting population because there's a lot of just people who watch the television show who don't see all the nuances. So hopefully the power of social media, the power of the feeds, she gets the W, she gets the money, and we have Xavier as the winner of the season, her as an AFP. I think that's a pretty damn good season when you think about it. The two best players end up walking away with the most money.
Yeah, and I think this year it's different than past seasons, more recently past seasons, because I thought you needed to be a part of Paramount Plus in order to vote for America's favorite.
That's the new vibe.
No, that's not weird. The new vibe. I just watched on the show. It was text your vote to this. Standard data rates apply. So I do feel like, with that being the case, that the 4 million people that are watching, 3.5 million, 4 million people that are watching the show are going to be like, I'm voting for Tiffany.
Tiffany, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Derrick X was one of the favorites, but he's always been the favorite online. But he hasn't been playing for a long time.
And when Tiffany went,
and even Derrick X himself who said in that jury segment, like they're framing it that way, where she should win it, where they're like, if you made it to the final two, Tiffany, you would have won. So it's like, I do think America, even the casual people, are going to be like, hey.
The editors know what they're doing too. They threw that in there for a reason. They were like, who's competing against Tiffany right now for America's favorite? It's Derrick X. And people psychologically don't even realize how like that is kind of hitting them. Like they're just kind of like, whoa, Derrick X said Tiffany? Oh man, Tiffany totally deserves it. Even if I was thinking Derrick X, I think I'm leaning towards Tiffany now. Psychologically, these networks, they know what they're doing.
They're constantly programming us.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, great episode tonight. By far the best episode of the season. I would say one of the best episodes in a very long time as far as this Blindside. I mean, Blindsides are great. They're so rare now because people are so concerned about what people think about them on social media. So to have that tonight, I think it was a nice treat for all of us. Did not expect it. I was texting you during the show. You were like, Kyland's going to smile, shake hands, and be pissed afterwards. And then you were like, text me after. You're like, I was wrong.
Oh boy.
Anything else?
No, nothing else. Guys, make sure if you guys are watching this, Derrick and I are now also covering Survivor. Our Survivor episodes come out on Thursday, so be sure, guys, to check out our Survivor episodes. We really want to start talking about some different things outside of reality, so just different things that are out there going on in the world. If there's things that you guys want to hear us talk about, get our, different things that you want to get like us to weigh in on, please leave a comment down below. Let us know some things, and maybe we'll do like an additional episode, just kind of like getting to know Derrick and I and different things that we are seeing and just our opinions on certain things. Let us know in the comments, guys. And as always, make sure you guys drop a like, turn on notifications, and please, please, please drop that subscription on the Winner Circle. D, take us out.
Absolutely. And we're almost at 1,000 comments or 1,000 rating. We're 4.9 on audio. We're almost at 1,000. I think we have like 750 comments. So if you go over to the audio version of this, preferably Apple Podcasts, because they allow you to rate it, go over to Apple Podcasts, download the episode, rate us 5-star, and leave a fist. Leave a fist for an emoji tonight, because tonight was pretty damn close to it.
The punching fist?
Yes, the punching fist.
Yeah.
The punching fist, because it was right in our face and it was damn near close to being cut to commercial real fast. Guys, we appreciate you joining us here on the Winner Circle. We will see you next week.